Okay, so hey doulas, welcome to another episode of the Doula Road Trip podcast. I'm always excited, but I'm really excited today because I get to catch up with my friend Micaela, who I met last year at one of the BIPOC doula meetups that I was hosting. It's how we actually got connected. And Kayla made some major moves last year when it came to her doula business and her birthwork career. And so I would love to check in, see how things are going, and let you guys hear her transition and all of the things that have happened so far because it's been a lot that has happened in such a short amount of time. So, Kayla, welcome and thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm excited too. Okay, so I saw this question on Facebook and I think it's such a good question. Without titles, how do you introduce yourself to people or tell people who you are?
Um, that's hard.
Right.
Take the titles away. Um,
Yeah, take the titles away. How would you describe yourself?
I feel like I usually describe myself as like who I am, like what I do as far as like being a mom, um, what I do for a living. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I really have not come into a space where I've said like anything other than that. That's
Okay, tell me about passions, hobbies, and how you would describe your personality.
I'm definitely a nurturer, someone who just
Okay.
love on people. That's just second nature to me. That's who I've been for my entire life.
Yeah.
Making people feel comfortable, making them
Mm.
feel seen and heard, and just loved does something for me. Um,
Yeah.
I definitely love to be in nature. Being outside
Mm.
by a body of water just gives me all of the inspiration to get those ideas out there.
Yeah.
I love to read. I love to sing. I love music. Um, yeah, that's pretty much me. I love plants. I'm a plant mom.
Who's your favorite music artist?
You know what? I just had a conversation with someone about this the other day, and it's so pinpoint. Like I'm a R&B, like early 2000s,
Okay.
type
Mm-hmm.
girl. I love me some gospel too now.
Yes.
And I'm getting into like jazz and stuff like that, but I can't really say that I have a
That's
favorite
dope.
artist. But I would say like favorite genre would be R&B, like that good old school, love R&B.
Love it. Okay, so take me through your journey as far as working goes, right? Because when I met you, you had a corporate job.
Mhm.
And so tell me about how that has played out for you as far as what was your first job and some of the jobs that you feel like led you up to the corporate job that you had when I met you last July.
That's funny. So I've always been in like the healthcare field, might have
Okay, that makes sense.
a teenager, those,
Yeah.
but I started I took classes to become a nursing assistant. So I did like the home health care roles, all of that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, me
actually,
too.
yeah, actually, when I was working as a home health aide rather, I saw a post about a home health care job. And I assumed
Mm.
that it was just in the same vein as what I was already doing. And then once I went for the interview, I was like, okay, wait, this is not that. And it actually was more so working in the durable medical equipment side of it. So I'm
Mm.
taking care of the billing, the processing for people to be able to get the things that they need to stay in their homes and
Okay.
such as like bath safety equipment and wheelchairs and those things to help them just in their daily acts of living. And I kind of fell into that because again I thought it was home health care where I'm going into people's homes, what I was used to, and it was totally different. I started off
Okay.
with my corporate job as a floater. So I would float into different locations. Someone may have been on vacation and they just needed a week or two covered, or they may have lost an employee at
Okay.
the location and needed me to come in until they, you know, hired a replacement. And I love
Okay.
that. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this forever. Like, as far as the floating aspect of it, I never wanted to be planted anywhere because I'm just like, oh, I'm in and out. I just come in, do my thing, and I leave. And then
Yeah.
after a few years of that, I got offered the opportunity to become a coordinator where I would actually manage said locations and then also have a permanent home or office in one location. So I had an office on the west side of Cleveland,
Okay.
and I had 12 locations that I overseen their home health care department. And those are
Love it.
all out east, um, on the east side of Cleveland. And I really at first was hesitant because I was just like, okay, now I have to like manage people uh,
Mm,
doing this job because it was more so like a solo thing. We all had our different locations, but we would
right.
come together occasionally. But this is different when you're managing people is very different. So
Yeah.
um, I just looked at the pros and cons of it, kind of took the money portion out of it because for me, I had to be able to have like my mental is important to me. Like I don't want to be overwhelmed, stressed out, because it doesn't add up to me if my quality of life is not okay based off of what I'm doing day in and day out.
Mm,
So I decided to pull the trigger and do it, and I loved it. I mean, everything that I did in my corporate job allowed me to be in the forefront as far as taking care of people. It was on a different
mhm.
scale, but it was
Mhm.
coming in, whether their family members were the one that needed, assistance, and they were the caretaker, or this was a person themselves. So it was anywhere from, like I said, the just the equipment to women who had cancer. I was doing mastectomy fittings. I was taking care of wig fittings for people who had, went through chemotherapy. So it was a very
Wow.
rewarding job, and I
Mhm.
loved what I was doing. But my passion for birth work just, I guess, I love that more, and the opportunity to do that presented itself, and I was like, you know what, I gotta go for it. I have to.
Okay, let's talk about the root of your passion for birth work since you brought that up. So, how did you find out about like doulas and like when did your passion for birth work start? Because I'm assuming that it had to be simultaneous with this corporate career that you had and brewing in the background, but it sounds like you were working in corporate over being in birth work at the time. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was in my corporate job for like 12 years, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, but actually, so I have two children, so that kind of ties into it. I feel like every birth worker that I've come across so far, their introduction or their passion for it is birthed out of their own birthing experience.
For a lot of people.
I was a teen mom, so I had my son when I was 17. And he was a preemie, so he was 2.5 months early. So my little three
Mm,
pound 8 ounce fighter, I call him. He's
wow.
22 now this summer, which is
No way.
crazy when I think about it. But I was in the hospital with him for a month, and I had a very hard pregnancy, just a very difficult road to motherhood, and
Mm,
um, I just remember leaving the hospital and saying to myself, I want to give back. I want to come back. I want to do kangaroo care with these babies. Like I want to love on these moms. And I did not know what that was. I didn't know what a doula was at the time. I was not fortunate to
mhm,
have a doula myself during my both of my pregnancies actually, but it was just something in me that wanted to come back to this space and give back. So I kind of like, just in the back of my mind, always wanted to do that. Always had a love for babies and all things pregnancy that sparked with my own pregnancy. Uh, and
mhm.
then just loving on friends and family that were, expecting. I was like a big advocate for breastfeeding. Anyone told me they want to breastfeed, I'm like, I got you, girl. I'm gonna help you. But
Yeah.
still not having these titles behind it. So the word doula didn't come up for me until years later. And I honestly, I was trying like to rack my brain to remember exactly like pinpoint when I learned what a doula was. And
Right.
like is I cannot pinpoint it, but once I
Mm.
did, I was like, oh, that's me. that's me. Like that is me. That is what I want to do. So fast forward, I was going through a really difficult time in my life and a big transition for me. I went through a divorce, and in
Hmm.
that time, it was very much like a soul searching time for me. I was trying
Yeah.
to figure out who I was outside of now, this marriage, and also
Yeah.
it makes you reflect on I've been this person for so long. Now I need to figure out who I am outside of that. So outside
Mm.
wife and outside of even being a mom, who am I? So I sat down and I made a list of things that I wanted to do for myself to in a way of like self-discovery. And in bold letters, I had become a doula. And I just decided, I'm going to start researching and looking for you know, ways to become certified, connect with people. And the way that it unfolded, I know that it was meant to happen when it happened. And the fact that doors and opportunities opened the way that they did, I cannot attribute that to anything but, God's hand and his plan for my life. So I felt very comfortable making those next steps because of those, how easy it was for me to kind of navigate into this space that I didn't even know existed, prior.
Yeah, I actually was going back, like looking at our text messages and looking at our messages
Hmm.
in Telegram from like last year and this year. And I think we met last July. And I remember you were asking me questions about how am I like juggling it all and how am I like avoiding burnout, I think is another question you asked me. And I remember telling you, like, I didn't actually make a transition into birth work. Like, me and my job, we had I guess you could call it a conscious uncoupling. They fired me. And so I was just kind of like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to do birth work now. And the agency was looking for doulas. And so it just so happened that it all worked out. But I'm like, I've never actually done birth work while also working a full time job that I was trying to transition out of. I sent you a book,
Yeah.
2 Weeks Notice
Yeah.
by Amy Porterfield.
Yes.
And then I remember we talked again in September and you said something. And I was like, are you trying to transition out of your job? And you were like, yeah, I read the book and I had the date for leaving my job. I never asked you what the date was. And then, like, I think within like 3 months, you were like, yeah, so I put in my notice. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God. Like, is she serious? Like, this went by extremely fast. So, talk a little bit about what was the catalyst for you to say, I'm for sure going to leave my job, and what was the preparation that went into juggling having a corporate job while also being in birth work and then eventually leaving your job, because that's a big step and a big commit. Like, sis, you left your good corporate job to be
Yeah.
a full-time doula. Like,
Mhm.
where they do that at? Like, tell me all about it.
So it definitely was a lot. I'll start there with the juggling of the two. Um,
Yeah.
I was working a typical, 8:30 to 4 type of schedule, Monday through
Yes.
Friday. And I kind of
Hmm.
tweaked my schedule a little bit. So the good thing for me, what I was doing, it was very flexible.
Yeah.
I could kind of move how I needed to move to make it work for me for both schedules. So
Okay.
I was doing like 7:30 to 3:30, but I was
Okay.
into the postpartum doula world.
Overnight.
Yeah, it was like I messaged and was like, "Hey, this company's looking for doulas," and I was like, "Okay, like let me go for it," because every time someone brought something to my attention when it came to anything in the birth work space,
Yeah.
I'm going for it. I'm gonna do it. Like I seen posts about this workshop and this whatever it was I felt like was gonna help me get to my next level. I was all about it, and I felt like it couldn't hurt to try it, to just sit down and have a conversation and see if it was worth me making a step to become a member of this team. So I sat down with the owner of this organization and we hit it off, and basically she was like, let's do it, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And immediately a contract became available and I started working. And it was like the weekends only, which, I had off, but
Okay.
juggling. Plus, I'm still doing birth work as well. So I'm going.
You still took on birth clients and overnight clients at the same time while having a corporate job.
So
Yeah.
I'm doing the 9 to 5 thing, per se, and I would go to work. I would come home. I would sleep for maybe a few hours, have some dinner, shower, and get up and go to overnight shift from 10 at night to 6 in the morning. And then I would come home, shower, go to work my 8 hour shift, and do it all over again. And I was just in grind mode. I would change my clothes in my office. I would put on my doula t-shirts and go to my prenatal appointments, meet with my clients at their homes to go over, comfort measures or birth plans or whatever we were doing in that particular appointment. And it really was not a struggle because I had a goal in mind. I knew where I was trying to go. I knew that I needed to save a significant amount of money because I needed to feel comfortable. Because you're coming from corporate, I have a guaranteed paycheck. You know what I mean? Let's be real. Every week
Hmm.
coming in, I also have benefits. Um, and then I also was working in a space where it was commission based. So there were certain things that, I could earn more money for. So I had to take all of that into consideration. And I could not
Yeah.
make a move without knowing that I had some stability. So the postpartum side of it is what allowed me, that was the catalyst. That was my bridge, if you will. Um, to help me make that transition. Without that portion, I don't think that I would have felt comfortable just doing births because it wasn't consistent enough. But once I started to see that I could, stack this money, not touch it, just work and do what I needed to do. And the fact that I love, I know as a birth worker, you have to have a burning
Yeah.
passion for this. It is no way around that.
It's insane
Yeah.
who you sign up for. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to have passion for it.
Not
Hmm.
just, oh, I'm just going to try this. No, you have to have a deep desire to do this because you can very much get burned out very quickly. And you bring your whole self to every client, So the fact that
Yeah.
I loved what I was doing fueled me even more. And I could just see beyond now. And I'm the person that if you
Yeah.
ask me like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'd be like, I don't know. Like I never was that person that was like that planner. I'm just in the moment getting it done right here, right now. So for me to
Hmm.
have to sit down and make a plan was very different for me. But that book, the 2 weeks notice, gave me information that I needed to make those next steps. Like she kind of gave that framework for me to say, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And I put that sticky note on my mirror. Like she said, make it plain, look at it every day so it's a reminder to you. Um and I went for it.
Yeah. And the sticky note had your last day of work on it,
Yeah.
right? The date that you were going to leave work
Yeah.
or put in your notice.
Now,
Yeah.
okay.
So tell me a little bit about other pieces of your plan. So it sounds like financially you had a goal in mind that you wanted to hit before you were comfortable leaving corporate, which makes sense because it sounds like now you're a single mom of two.
Yes.
And then your oldest child is grown, but how old is your youngest child and how was that having, a conversation with your child about the fact that I'm going to be in birth work. I'm not going to be around like I normally am. I may miss XYZ. So and so might have to step in to do XYZ. What kind of preparation or kind of conversation did you have with your child to prepare them for the fact that like your schedule and your life is about to get real chaotic and erratic, honestly,
Yeah.
with somebody who is leaning on you and depending on you for stability?
So I think it's a blessing for me that my kids are older.
Okay.
I could not.
How old is your youngest?
She just turned 18 on
Okay.
the 15th of this month, which is it's just crazy when I think about it. But
Okay.
they're getting older. I'm getting better. That's what I keep saying. So yeah.
I love that.
Um, I did have a conversation. My son was still home during this transition, was something
Oh, okay.
he moved out after I left, my corporate job, but he was still home. Um,
Okay.
so I had a conversation with both of my kids, and
Mm.
they were very supportive because they could see
Oh, good.
of that I have. Um, and just the desire to do this, they could see it, and they were like,
Yeah.
go for it, like, we got you, go for it. And I'm very much that mom that wants to make sure, even though my kids are older, um I'm still like, I'm cooking dinner, I'm making sure that they're taken care of. And
Mm.
we just did it. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't that difficult, again, because they're not little babies. And my daughter's very independent, and it's like, that kid that knows what she needs to do, and she's gonna, do what she needs to do. But it was very different because I wasn't home. Because you think
Yeah.
they're going throughout the day, I'm going throughout the day, work and school, but then coming home and being like, okay, at 9:30, peace out, I'm about to go, and I'm gonna see y'all in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, because they would be still sleeping when I am,
Right.
dipping off to go to my corporate job. So um
Yeah.
it just worked out. And like I said, that's why I really believe in moving and God's timing, and not doing things outside of that, because having
Yeah.
things based off of how I wanted to do them and when I wanted to do them, it would not have played out like this. So the fact that my kids are older, they're more independent, I have a little bit more leeway with that, and I didn't have to answer to anyone else, if you will. It's
Mm.
just me as a single mom. Like, I'm running the household. I don't have a spouse or significant other to say, well, this is what I want to do. It was just me and God, and I'm like, okay, I'm listening. I hear you, and I'm just gonna move. I'm gonna move forward with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that. So tell me, like, when was your last day at your corporate job? What was the date?
November 30th of last year.
Okay, November 30th of 2023. Okay. So it's been like a few months now that you have let go of the corporate job and then been full time in birth work as a birth and postpartum doula.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, what's the tea? How is it really going versus how you imagined it would go? What have been like some of the challenges? Like, tell me all of it.
Okay. So to start off, because I was going, like doing both, I was doing just that, going. And then you come to,
Yeah.
you're like, things slow down because you take the corporate job out of it. And the hours are significantly different because now doing postpartum over,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and at night, and I'm, sleeping throughout the day. And then
Right.
clients, then I'm, meeting with them for postpartum appointments. But, that's not an everyday occurrence.
Right.
Now you're in this space of, I have more time on my hands than I'm used to. So that's an
Yeah.
for sure. Coming from corporate, where I interacted with people every single day, all day, to the point where I would come home and be like, just give me a minute. Like, I just need to, debrief. I can't, decompress rather. I don't want to talk right now because I've been doing that all day, and people are constantly pulling on me and needing me for something. Whereas,
Right.
like, it's you. It's just you. And that part of it was very different for me. I was
Mm.
like, wow, I consider myself an introverted extrovert. So
Mhm.
oh, I also get drained from being around people for a significant amount of time and need to recharge. But
Yeah.
being in a space where it's just me, and I'm having to come up with that next step for my business, um,
Mm.
that part was hard for sure. And if I'm being honest, when I initially came into it, I didn't look at doula work or birth work as a business. I just looked at it as, this is something that I want to do. I want to support families and mothers, and um I didn't look at it like I was about to be running a business. So that part hit me hard. And I think that, as far as having an understanding of that, it's not really well discussed, in my opinion. Talk
Okay.
about all the things as far as like how to show up for people and how to make those connections, and the do's and the don'ts of consultations and all those things, because I listened to all the podcasts. Like I was everything. I'm like, yes, give me all the information. But I
Yeah.
didn't hear too much about. I mean, there's some conversations, but I just feel like it needs to be more. And then something that you and I discussed was that mourning process. Because again, I loved what I did in the corporate space, but I was ready to make that transition. But in that moment, like walking out of it, I am now no longer connected to those people. I'm no longer going to that place every single day. And
Yeah.
that was hard. That was hard.
Yeah.
For having our last, we would have monthly meetings, like coordinator meetings. And I
Okay.
my boss saying like, made the announcement, and then she allowed me to speak at the end. I got so choked up, like I couldn't even get words out
Mhm.
for a good like couple minutes. She was like, "Do you want to, do you want me to just talk?" And I was like, "No, no, I got it." And I wasn't expecting that. I knew that I was gonna feel something as far as like
Yeah.
sadness, like I'm leaving these people behind in a way. Um,
Right.
so many connections, and for so long. Um, that was it was really hard. So once
Yeah.
I was here, working from my home, it was just like I'm kind of missing that fellowship, that relationship, because
Yeah.
the solo thing. So I believe it's very important to how we always talk about with families, like find your tribe, find your people. You definitely have
Mhm.
to do that in this space, because it's very easy to fall into a bit of sadness, if you will, because you don't
Yeah.
no longer doing what you were, and it's lonely. Let's just call it what it is. It's lonely. Because unless you're working in a partnership with someone, it's just you. It's just you. So that part was
Yeah.
hard. So it took me a minute, and I if I'm being honest, I'm just getting to the point where I'm feeling better about that. I talked to a good friend, and she was explaining to me just, it's how we talk to moms about birth is a mental. It's very much mental. And for me, this is me birthing something, you know what I mean? And I have to tap into that mental space of saying like, what am I going to think on? And it takes me to scripture where it talks about think on those things that are lovely, that are thought worthy. Because I can sit and dwell and be like, oh, I missed what I was doing, or I just missed that connection. Or I can think about the fact that this is what you wanted to do and you're getting to do this. This is so awesome. And just finding ways to connect with people so that I don't feel so isolated, if you will. But it was definitely a big blow. Like, cause I was so excited. Like I was like
Mhm.
hype. I'm like, oh my gosh, like now I just get to do this, and I can just go and be a doula and out in these doula streets, and I don't
Right.
worry about, my schedule or missing work because a client went into labor. Like now I can just go to a birth and be at ease. Or I could come home from a postpartum shift and I can go to bed.
And sleep.
I
Mhm.
looked forward to that. That's what kept me going, if I'm honest. Eventually, girl, you're gonna be able to go home and go to sleep. You don't have to get up and go to work. Um, and I feel like I did it well, but again, I was not prepared for the drop of things, because it was just I was just going, going, going. So it was a hard stop. That's how I the best way to put it. Just a hard stop that I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, I have like so many thoughts. I I think that you are like a lot of doulas who end up coming into birth work, and the business part catches people by surprise, because for a lot of us, for all of our career, you could just get on Indeed, walk into places back in the late 90s, early 2000s, walk into places, fill out an application, and there was always a job that was to be had. right? And so as birth workers, you have to create the opportunities, collaborate for the opportunities, prepare yourself for the opportunities by starting a business. And it's like, oh wow, like I didn't even think about like where are the clients going to come from, and like how am I going to get to work
Mm.
after I have the certifications, the knowledge, and the information to work. Like what happens at the next step. And especially for people like you and me that don't think far into the future and don't think in advance 5 or 10 steps, it's like, oh okay, like I being met with something that I didn't see. I think that after a 12-year career though, in a job that you actually loved, which I think is a little bit different too, if I'm being honest. A lot of people work jobs that they hate. So you being in a career that you absolutely loved for 12 years, that definitely does need room and space to grieve, to mourn, and we talked about this before, to attach yourself to a new identity. Because it's one thing when you're working a corporate job and you're in birth work, but you still have your identity as this corporate professional that's a home health aide, that's helping people in their homes that are going through pretty, significant health challenges, and you're being there as a support person, maybe even a beacon of hope and inspiration, all of those things, because I know how your energy is in person. And then to be birth working, kind of side hustling. And it's like, yeah, I'm a doula, but this title, like we started at the beginning, this title is really where I find my identity and my purpose, my belonging and my comfort. And then to intentionally strip yourself from that and do full-time doula work, it's like I haven't quite stepped fully into that identity yet. That's a place where I'm new, where I'm uncomfortable, where I'm learning, where I'm growing, where I'm making mistakes. And this old thing that I used to know that was so comfortable and so convenient and has been attached to me for over a decade, like that's what I'm used to. So talk about like imposter syndrome and what that's like, taking on a new identity as a new professional in a new career where you're taking skills from home health and from supporting people, but it's in quite a different way, in quite a different space.
Yeah, yeah. As you were speaking, that's what popped in my head, like imposter syndrome, for sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Mhm.
not, because again, when we talk about titles, I came from everyday, I'm a professional medical equipment and services coordinator. Like that's who I am.
Mhm.
Um, to I'm a doula, and if I'm being honest, in the beginning, and I'm still working through, it very much feels like, is this my life? Like, do I have, am I supposed to be here? Like, you know what I mean? Like that
Mhm.
validation of, because it went so quickly. And I know
Yeah.
the story, and people look at it like how we talk about when we see people on TV and they're like, an overnight success kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like you don't know what I went through to get here. You don't know my story, that, my journey into this.
Yeah.
But looking at it, it can very much look like, oh, she just popped on a scene, and here she is, and it can very much feel like you're taking on somebody else's identity, like I'm kind of here watching myself. I could say like an out of body experience, like I'm watching myself
Mhm.
do the work, because being out of birth is an amazing and magical, oh my gosh, experience. And it's
Yeah.
like I'm watching myself do this as I'm actually physically doing this. And it's like, okay, girl, this is your life. Like, own it. You worked
Yeah.
hard for this. You pound the pavement for this. This was your thing. You were spending your weekends and your time off going to businesses that allow you to post flyers and put your cars up, and you did the legwork to get here. So walk in that, and know that you are worthy of this title, because there's, like I said, there's people that's been doing this for years and years, and you get in these spaces and you can kind of feel intimidated. You're watching other people's journeys and you can see snapshots of things on social media and things like that, and it can feel very much like, am I supposed to be here? Like, is it okay for me to be like, hey, I'm Kayla the doula, and I'm, gonna do all the things? Yeah, so it very much is a place where you have to have a moment to just say to yourself, like, yes, I'm deserving of this. Yes, I'm supposed to be here. But is it hard? Absolutely. Is it a work in progress? Absolutely. Am I still walking through that and still having to know, like, when I'm talking to people and I'm in spaces? I just did a went to a mother blessing, and I was talking to a guest there. She was like, "You're a doula?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just so thankful for what you guys do." And I'm just in my mind, I'm thinking like, wow, like, yeah, I'm this is what I do, and this is how I show up for people, and this is a part of my life now, and I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own it, even though in the inside I'm still inching through that. You know what I mean? Really becoming comfortable in this space, because what I did prior, I was so comfortable with it, I could do it with my eyes closed. You know what I mean? I was so
Mhm.
comfortable with it, I could teach it. I was training people to do what I was doing. So I want to get to a point where that's my story in this space as well. And just being comfortable and understanding, because I had someone tell me this in the very beginning, what I was doing in my corporate job. Like,
Mhm.
you did that for so long and you put that time in and you did all the training and you did all the things to be where you are now. But you had to
Yeah.
start somewhere. You didn't start off there. So remember who you were when you saw that ad and thought you were walking into being a home health aide, and it was not that at all. And now you're in this space of, billing and doing all of these things that you never thought you would do. I never thought I would be doing what I was doing then, and it took time for me to walk in that and own that. So I have to bring that same energy to being a doula and understand that it's still work. You know what I mean? This is my job. This is how I pay my bills. But it's also a love and a passion that, if I tried to put it down, I couldn't. Like, I wouldn't sleep if I could
Yeah.
do this. So yeah.
Tell me about some of the things that you wish were in place along this journey. Like, I know, like, a lot of times people say things like, oh, like, after training, it felt like an abrupt, like, stop. And, like, it would have been nice to have, like, a coach or a mentor to kind of bridge from training to actually like working in this industry. Like, or some people pick a training that they're like, I kind of feel like the training wasn't really robust enough and really didn't prepare me for stepping into this work confidently. So tell me about some of the gaps or places that you think have been missing as far as like support or information or anything so far.
So for the training aspect, I am no shade to any online trainers or anything like that, or people
Hmm.
who learn well that way. Me, I'm a very hands-on learner. Like, you
Okay.
can sit me all day and tell me this is ABC and this is how you're going to get to D, but I need to walk that path. I need to touch it. I need to be able to do it. You show me, now I show you. I can do it. So where I feel is missing is definitely having that mentorship that is a one-on-one connection, where you're not just feeling like you're a part of this big pool and you're just getting maybe like an automated email response to a question, or
Okay.
having just workshops after. Like, if you do an online course, it should be somewhere where you could actually go to see those skills that you just learned put into practice.
Okay. Okay.
And then also, I feel having definitely having that mentorship portion of it is key.
Hmm.
um, because it's just like everything that I do, it's going to come back to my um my relationship with God, and just, who I am, because that's who I am as well. And I just know, like, working in ministry, when you become a part of it, like, you're a part of the congregation, but when you become a part of ministry, then you become a part of a connection of people that give you a net. So if I fall off, if you stop seeing me coming to church, or, when you're in ministry, someone's gonna be looking for you, and you're not just
Hmm.
a part of the congregation, the coming and going, because people come to church and then they don't, that kind of thing. So
Right.
I feel like there should be a bit of a net, so that those people don't fall through the cracks. So someone can say, hey, I haven't heard from Kayla. She hasn't been to a doula group or a circle, or she hasn't checked in on the group meeting, or whatever it is, to to check in on each other.
Mm.
Um, and then the business aspect of it. My God, that needs to be its own course, because
Yeah.
we don't talk about taxes. We
Yeah.
don't talk about the things that come with having a business and having insurance, and putting money aside for those things, because it's important to make sure that you're insured, because anything could happen.
Yeah.
um, and those are the things that I feel like definitely need to be discussed more in detail. That yes, this is, like I said, a burning passion that people have, and we just want to get out here and do it. And a lot of people kind of buck against the system and are like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through this formal training. I just want to get out here and be a doula. But
Yeah.
if you're about doing this as a business, I'm all about doing stuff in decent and in order, because at the end of the
You so churchy.
day, that it has to make sense though. If
Yeah.
this is now your livelihood, this is how you're feeding your family.
Right.
Need a foundation.
Right.
You
Right.
to hang your hat on at the end of the day, to say, look, I put the work in, so that 5 years from now, I have some type of safety net. I have some type of, you know, stability.
Right.
It's very important. So yeah, I definitely think that that's a portion that I didn't get. um if I'm being honest, yeah, that I definitely feel like is necessary. Like those conversations need to be had, because we could continue to take all the classes on, you know being a herbalist and learning how to soothe the baby and all those things, but when it comes to like that business part of it, you have to put that hat on too. And we're wearing many hats when we're doing this, you know what I mean?
Okay.
We have to think, at the end of the day, we're telling our clients how to, show up for themselves, and how to advocate for themselves, and how to make plans, because it's unpredictable. This is too. Our side of it is very much unpredictable. Like, we're moving with how clients are coming into our space and being introduced to us, and it's not a guarantee. So you definitely have to have those hard conversations and have people sit down. And having a mentorship, I just feel, allows you to get that insight from someone who's been doing it, who can say, girl, I went through that, let me tell you about it. You know what I mean? Like, and
Mm.
then also just having a space where you can be vulnerable and say, this is what I'm experiencing, and someone else can come alongside you and let you know, like, oh, that's not anything, abnormal. This is
Yeah.
normal, and it's okay to have those feelings. And it's okay to have those conversations with one another, and just have a safe space, for sure. But definitely, yeah, just having that net, that's what I see is missing, is just having that net for us to be able to check in on each other and make sure that all of the training and all the things that we've done, yeah, that's great, but like making sure that you're good at the end
Yeah.
of yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're like almost 5 months in now of your full time birth work journey. Talk about some of the L's you've taken and what you've learned from some of the losses and mistakes that you've made so far, because it's inevitable when you're new in anything and moving fast and super ambitious, and you got the energy and the fire, and you birth and postpartum. Like, it's going to be inevitable that you're going to mess up. So let's talk about what some of those mistakes have been and missteps, and like the lessons that you've learned that like you would like write down in like your first year lessons and lessons and birth work book. Like, what would that look like?
First of all, knowing that I'm only one person, okay, I can't do all the things all of the time. Let my no be no, and not just being that, and not feeling guilty about it. I feel like in the beginning, even though it's still beginning stages for
Yeah.
me for full time, but before, it was just like anything that was happening, I was like, okay, okay, I'm available. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And you're a test to that, because I just needed your help to come in, help me
Yeah.
with scheduling snafus, if you will. But I really,
Overbookings. Yeah.
right. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this, oh, her too. Oh sure, I got you. Because in your mind, you're just like, I want to help the world. I want to make all the moms, all the families. I want their postpartum journey to be wonderful. I want their birthing experiences to be wonderful. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I know that I have to be able to rest. I have to be able to regroup,
Yeah.
Well, that's something that I had to learn quickly. You're not gonna be able to do it all. Like your no has to be no, and
Yeah.
that's okay. It doesn't have to have the explanation behind it. It's just I'm not available. I don't have the space, bandwidth, whatever you want to call it, to do this in this moment. Um, and just knowing that it's going the ebbs and flows of it all, I think is what really, because it could be popping, like you could be like booked and busy, and then it's like, okay, kind of like crickets, like where's the people? So
Right.
not down on yourself when that happens, like knowing that you're doing, as long as you're doing the work and doing what you're supposed to be doing, the clients, the people that are for you are gonna be for you. um and also knowing when a relationship as far as a client isn't right. You know what I mean? Because not every client is your client.
Yeah.
And if you're like any person that's coming, they're like they want to work with you. Yes, 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 yes. Even if it might be a little red flag here or there, you're like, I don't know about this. The vibe ain't vibing, but
Yeah.
so just listening to your intuition with that, that was something that I had to learn very quickly.
Mm.
Everyone is not your client, and that's okay. That's okay. And understanding that you ultimately are in control, and understanding too that in being an entrepreneur and having a business is all the time. Like it's all the time. So you have to make time to sit down. You have to make time for your family, for yourself, self care, whatever that looks like for you. That was something that I had to learn early too, because burnout is real, and I
Yeah.
kept quite a bit, and I never wanted to get to that place, of I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore because I don't have the capacity to do it anymore because I have literally burned myself out, trying to do it all. So I think those are the things that I'm taking from this beginning portion of it, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Do you regret quitting?
No, no.
You would quit again.
I would. I would.
Okay.
In the moment of it all, and what's so crazy is like every person, my employees, my boss's boss, every person that I told that this is what I was doing, people that I felt comfortable, because not everybody, have to tell everybody what moves you're making, but
Amen. Yeah.
comfortable talking to and telling what I was doing, even as I was doing it before I decided I wanted to go. It was a select few people that knew that I was doing and working corporate. I was like, shh, keep it on the hood. Yeah. Because then when people know, then they automatically assume you have one foot out the door. And I never wanted anyone to feel that way because I didn't
Right.
know it was going to take before I got to the point of transition.
Right.
Everyone said to me, I'm so happy for you. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Like we can see you doing this. Like this is you has you written all over it. And I got
Oh.
people that just gave me their blessing to move forward, and it made it so much easier to walk away, because first I didn't feel like I was abandoning them because I gave them a month's notice, because I didn't want to. I knew how much responsibility I held in my position, and I couldn't just walk away and pull the rug out from under them. So
Right.
that was important to me, to leave on good terms.
Right.
So the fact that they were like rallying behind me, like, "Woo, you got this!" We're so happy for you,
Hmm.
and how could you not? I got that so many times. Like, how could you not go for it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the opportunity was there, and I was like, I have to. So no, I don't regret it at all. The things that I wish I would have known more about is just how drastically my schedule change was going to affect me. That part is what, if anything I could have prepared myself better for, was that part.
Okay.
um yeah, and just knowing like the day to day, there is no checklist of things, if you will, that is presented to me, and I have to now go and conquer. It's me now. I'm creating that checklist. I'm creating that blueprint to what I want my business to look like and the things that I want to accomplish this month, this week, this year, so have you. And that part of it, I'm still working through, if I'm being honest. Filling up my day and not feeling guilty about, did I do enough work today? You know what I mean? Versus I'm sitting here on my laptop all day, like finding that happy medium between the two. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I get to do this. So no, I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay. Anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we would have or that you want to bring up?
um, I feel like we touched on quite a bit, but
We did.
I think that just anyone that has a desire to do this, definitely find your people. It's so important. Coming into this, I remember, and again, I'm just going to take it back because this is who I am. I can't erase this part from my life. I remember talking to my sister and her saying, um, in the middle of the Home Goods or Target, wherever she was, I got to stop a second and pray because I was getting ready to go to my first birth circle. And she was just, for whatever you have for her in this season, every door, every opportunity, every person that she's supposed to meet, connect with to help her along this journey, that, your will be done as far as that. And I can honestly say that that is what has helped me tremendously, is finding those people
Yeah.
that I lean on, that I can come to, that I can talk to and say, no, this is what I'm going through, including yourself. And I appreciate you for that so very much because it matters. So that's what I would say as far as like to any person that wants to come into this space, be a birth worker in whatever capacity that is. Find your tribe, find your people, because it's necessary. It's so necessary. You don't even realize how necessary those people are going to be until you're in this. Um, yeah, because it's extremely important.
Yeah. Well, I'm like so thankful for you for sharing your story. I know you're like 5 months in at this point, but I would love to do a 9 month check in and a 12-month check in and just see how things are going, get updates, see what you've learned. But I just appreciate you so much for sharing your journey and your story because I know so many people are in jobs that maybe they love, maybe they don't love, and really want to transition into birth work where they feel like they've been called and where they feel like they can make such an impact and such a difference and dream of being a full-time doula. And so you being so vulnerable, just thank you for sharing and being so honest and so open about a big transition that is still in progress and that you're still processing. So I just appreciate you so much for sharing. If people want to follow you on social media, why not? Let's drop the handles and the social platforms that you're on.
Absolutely. So, Instagram is at Kayla the Doula. I'm on Facebook as Micaela Henderson, and then my website is my business name, Her Birth Doula Services.
Okay, awesome. We'll drop all of that in the description. Just thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to doing our 9 month check in and our 12-month check in. But of course, like I'm rooting for you. I know you're going to be like successful and that this is like right where you're supposed to be. So I'm super excited to see how your journey continues to unfold.
So much. I'm so excited too. I can't wait to come back and see where we are from here because
Yeah.
really a road trip type of situation.
100%, 100%. And Doula Road Trip fam, thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode, and we will see you soon. Bye for now.